Welcome to episode number 4 of Checked In Podcast with Michael and Zach. This episode is sponsored by Popple, your digital business card. Professionals put Popple on their phones and keys to instantly share contact info with everyone they meet. The best part, the other person doesn't need a Popple or an app to receive your information. Buy yours now at www.popple.co. That's www.popl.co. And use code CHECKEDIN at checkout for 20% off. And you're helping out the podcast, which we greatly appreciate. So, Zach, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about vibrations.
Ooh, vibrations, vibes.
We're talking about vibes, bro.
Okay. What about the vibes?
It's actually deeper and darker than you think. So I think that vibes are a little bit more realistic than just like hippies on like the internet, like, oh, I like your vibe, bro.
No, vibes are definitely real though.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you could feel the shit when there's like bad vibes, or like, you know, if you go into a room of people who are like pissed off, you can feel that shit.
Yeah, you can feel that, yeah, for sure. But basically, like, I don't know, I was just doing research, and like, what made me do the research was like I was just like looking up like how like why certain music makes you feel good, and like why certain music just makes you, I was like, is it the lyrics, is it the sound of like what's going on? And it's literally just how it sounds, like the frequency that is portrayed in. So basically I was watching like a bunch, I was like in some like rabbit hole about like what's the best frequency for music and this and that, and like it was a bunch of artists, like Chris Brown was one of them. And basically it was just like the 528 hertz is like the, you know, the magical like healing, you know, the perfect pitch or tone or whatever for, or frequency I should say, for music in general. Like
528 is?
Yeah, and that it promotes like, you know, self wellness, and like when you hear it, it'll make you feel better and feel good, which makes sense because he's like an R&B pop singer. So like generally, most of his songs are like feel good songs and like stuff like that, or like love songs and stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It makes sense for him to like want to do that. And it's funny because like in my research, the color yellow, is like to like you know, it's like it matches that hertz of 528, and it's like the mi tone in the do re mi fa sol la ti do. It's the mi tone, and you know, people research that actual tone, and like basically the beneficial effects of it is like increased energy levels, clarity of mind, awaken creativity, a state of deep inner peace. And it activates your imagination and your intuition to help you achieve goals and stuff like that. So like if you're a creative person, or like just a creator in general, like an artist or whatever, of music, or, you know, painting or whatever, it's probably better to listen to things in that frequency, which is good.
Or if 528.
Or if you're just like, you know, just chilling, it clears your mind, increases your energy, which is like Chris Brown is a like electric person, like he's a crazy good dancer,
high energy,
like, high energy, all the time. So it's like that makes so much sense for him to make music in that frequency. But it's like I did more research, and like the frequency that most music is, you know, pushed out in or projected in is in the 440 hertz, which is like a way like lower frequency for, in my research, what the human mind is capable of. It like suppresses and like numbs the brain in certain ways, and it actually disrupts, like, you know, like if you play like the 440 frequency in water, the water will like barely move
because it's so low energy.
Yeah. And then if you play it in like 432 hertz or like a different frequency, you literally like the water's sporadic. You know what I mean? So it's like, my whole thing is like we're pretty much mostly water, and like, you know,
So that's like a
what's
direct reflection of how it affects a human being then.
yeah, and how much like fluid is around the brain, how much just in your head alone, how much like blood and water and all that stuff
Yeah.
is just in your brain and in your skull, right?
So
And
listening
like,
to this music creates that same movement within you.
yeah, we're mostly water. So like, if you think about it like that, the water barely moving, that's barely moving your brain. Yeah, I
So
mean,
is that like, does that mean that your brain barely like, not barely moves, but it barely like functions when it's listening to this stuff? Like, does it
yeah,
basically like promote the brain being like performing at a less active level?
yeah,
Then?
yeah.
And then what was it? 532?
528.
So
528.
528.
Oh, the 420, the 432 frequency made it move more.
So 432 made it move, 528 made it move, 440 just kind of kept it sedentary.
Yeah, pretty much. Like,
And
it was
most
just,
music and shit is put out at 440.
yeah. So like, my whole thing is like, if we're putting that directly in our ear is right next to our brain. Everything we hear goes to our brain.
Yeah.
So then that's just making our brain like kind of like paralyzed from the opposite of the 528, which is like increased energy, clarity of the mind, awakened creativity, state of deep inner peace. Instead, it's like the opposite. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it keeps your brain stagnant, on one track. You know, like pretty much you're like, if you think about it, like, okay, so our brains are very electric, right? Our body's electric. So if you think about it, electricity is always doing this, right? It's always going up and down, up and down. But, you know, think of somebody that's like a sporadic personality. It's just like they're always like, you know,
Moving,
jittery
jittering,
and
shit
yeah,
like that,
like yeah. So if you think about it, like if you try to suppress that in the brain, thoughts are gonna be this big. You know, motivation, everything is just gonna be stagnant. Like, everything's just gonna be like barely moving, right?
Yeah.
So like, my whole thing too is, I'm like, so 440 hertz, what is that all about? Like, so why is our
what's
music,
the purpose of that?
yeah, like, why is our music in 440 hertz? Why is our radio waves in 440 hertz? Like, that's crazy. So then I did more research and I went in depth. Like, I went to like, where did this start? You know, the history of the radio and everything like that.
Yeah.
And so basically, the Nazis they were incredibly smart. Like, the Germans of that time were incredibly smart.
Yeah. A lot of them got taken over to the U.S. to be scientists in the U.S.
Yeah, for sure.
Because of that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like the stuff they were able to accomplish with like the reign of Hitler, like it's incredible. And like, I'm not condoning like genocide or anything, but
No,
it's just
but like
incredible.
the way that they were able to get a whole country behind them.
Yeah, that's really crazy, especially right after like they lost World War I. And like, their country was devastated. You know, economics were like not as good as they were in the 30s. Like, we're going through a depression over here, and then like they're over there like thriving, industrial, like everything's just booming over there.
Right.
And which is why they were able to come to power and like start being more imperialistic and taking over like Europe and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's ridiculous. So like, basically going back to that, they figured out that frequency pretty much like dumbs you down and makes you more susceptible to like being more open to war and violence and just a more depressed state.
So does it promote those kind of thoughts, or does it promote the brain to be susceptible to whatever it's hearing at that time?
It basically, it does both. So like the brain will already, so your brain at that frequency will already feel those like down and like, you know, like aggressive
those, like, depressive
feelings. Yeah. Of like, yeah, like confusion, frustration, depression, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like, they literally in that state, your brain is already vulnerable to whatever it's listening to. So like, which is crazy now, because like now I know why like my parents or other people would be saying like, yeah, be careful what you listen to. Be careful what music you listen to. Like, you don't want to become that. Like, you don't want to become that. And I'm like, nah, I'm too strong minded for that. You know what I mean? Like, I won't become that. And like, I mean, for the most part, I haven't like done anything crazy.
Right,
I
right.
mean, like, yeah, I mean, like we all done like knucklehead stuff as kids, but like, you know, like it's definitely something to take into consideration. So like, basically, what they did to get Hitler into power is it was supposed to be like some election there, and then like Hitler pretty much used the radio waves in that
440.
frequency at 440 to pretty much
manipulate
the
masses to his propaganda.
Yeah, pretty much to his propaganda. And like his propaganda was, all right, we're going to industrial state, we're going to rebuild the nation, we're going to blame everything on the Semitic people, and that's going to drive hate towards them, as well as get our economy up. And then going to a war would help drive his motive, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So like that whole thing was crazy. They even were down to the point where they were handing out they were literally handing out radios for free to the whole population of Germany
to just push this.
To just push it, yeah. And the radios would only push out the 440 frequency through from Hitler's voice or whatever, you know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah, so it's like, with that being said, that's literally like the best propaganda, because like you have the frequency
That's
already.
mind control.
Yeah, you literally had the frequency already tainting with their emotional, you know, how their brain receives the world.
Yeah, you're changing someone's emotional state just based on the frequency.
Just based on the frequency, yeah. And so like with that, you mix that in with your political motive or whatever, you know, your idea of this extreme idea of like this and that, whatever. Building the Aryan race and all the stuff that Hitler was like trying to do to get people to believe whatever the hell he was saying.
Yeah.
Dude was smart. Like, dude was smart for that, and he was smart to put the people in a place around him. Like he deserved to be like. That. Unfortunately, he deserved to be like the leader of that time in Germany, because he was just smart enough to put people in the right position to do what he wanted to do and accomplish what he wanted to accomplish.
Absolutely.
So it's like, when you look at it that way, they said it was able to reach 52 million out of 70 million of the population of Germany.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, if you got that kind of majority behind you,
bro, it was like,
it's over.
Yeah.
You win whatever election you're in or whatever it was at that time. If you got that kind of majority behind you, then you got to think even the ones that weren't listening to the radio and weren't being subject to that frequency, those are people that are talking to people that were. So then word of mouth from there. Yeah, literally. I mean, to have a whole country backing your anti-Semitic propaganda is pretty. I mean, you know, props to him for like getting to that point. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing, obviously, but to get a whole country to hate one race based on just that, you know, the frequency being put out there, that's a power move.
Yeah, that's a strong way to do it too. And it's like they were all dumb enough to not know what was going on. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, shit, I didn't even know about this till today.
Yeah. So it's like they were actually like, for the most part, were on board with it, except for the Semitic citizens in Germany at the time.
Right.
But it was like some crazy stuff. And then, like, you know, somehow America does it. Rockefeller comes out of nowhere and is like, yeah, so blah, blah, blah.
So America adopted this.
Essentially, yeah, because they figured that it worked and that they can drive and do the same thing with their thing. So, like, Rockefeller in the late 30s, towards the end and the beginning of the 40s, right around the time the war started, all this propaganda and stuff to go to war and all that stuff came about, which, you know, obviously we were like forced to go into war because of, like, you know, the whole Pearl Harbor situation. But I feel like America wanted to get back in the war anyways. You know what I mean? So it's like,
war is profitable.
Yeah, and they already, like, no way, like, they just bomb us in Pearl Harbor and we're just locked and loaded, ready to go after just coming out of a depression. You know what I mean?
Right,
so,
exactly.
Like, they were definitely building towards this, and, like, you know, Rockefeller being, like, a trillionaire oil industry. You know what I mean? Like, his whole name and everything he touched was just, like, Midas. he literally had the power, the resources, and everything kind of similar to like how Hitler did,
Yeah.
where he had his hand on, that whole thing. So it's like when you look at it, like it spreads through the whole world, where now like the one of the major frequencies in our atmosphere is the 440 hertz.
And now music on a just regularly music is being put out at 440.
Yeah.
And also at that same time, if you realize what's being put out there in like mainstream hip hop, mainstream rap, it's all about guns, violence, drugs, and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's in the streets now.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
people killing each
yeah.
other all the time, gang violence,
Yeah.
drugs, this, that. Everyone's on that same wave, and that's, to your point, stemming from listening to music at 440 hertz, which makes you susceptible to whatever you're listening to.
Yeah.
And they're listening to music based around drugs, guns, and violence.
And sex. Yeah.
And sex, all at the 440 hertz.
Yeah.
So, like, you don't... they're using the same thing as Hitler did, but on a, I guess, not a more violent scale, but like a different violent scale.
Yeah. Because, like, one, it can be used in multiple ways. Let's say like the president is talking and like you're listening to it in the AM channel, and the AM channel is like, more talk showy type of things, or broadcasting network, news networks broadcasting throughout the whole day. And, the president goes on and talk. Your TV, 440 hertz. Your radio in your car, 440 hertz. Your radio in your house, 440 hertz. You're streaming on your phone, 440 hertz. That's how everything is being transmitted to you. So, like, yeah, so people that are running, for instance, like Trump had some rational ideas, but like he had the huge following behind him, which put him into power. You know what I mean? So which was crazy, because it's like most of us were like, the people that were part of the popular vote were like, dude, he's crazy. Like, I'd rather take Hillary Clinton over him.
Right.
And then like you're like, let's just put him in office. Like, why not? So like basically like he kind of won his way there. And then you go even further back in history, and it's like, so like the CIA used like MK Ultra. Like, we all know what that is. If you ever took psychology in school or whatever, like even just the intro to psychology class, you know about like MK Ultra and like
huge
the brainwashing and like like hypnotizing and all that stuff that goes on with that. That's also, majority of it was in 440 hertz. So this frequency throughout time, has been used for that. And MK Ultra is also in all advertisements and all this other stuff. So it's like crazy to think that all of this stuff literally is just based from, a lot of the things kind of now are based from like the 30s science and just how we've been able to revolutionize it to nowadays. But it's kind of weird, because like even I read somewhere that even the Rothschilds, which is like the Rockefellers of like Europe, they even use this in their like rise to power and stuff like that. So it's actually pretty crazy. The other thing I realized too is that in my research, that light also can be measured in hertz, which is the same thing that a frequency is measured in, or like a sound is measured in.
Yeah.
So when I was looking into that, I kind of went down like the scale, which I was talking about, like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and that scale is literally like, it's like a healing, like with music and stuff, like it said it could be like therapeutic and stuff like that. So like it kind of coincides with the same idea of like the ancient Vedic like chakra chart and stuff like that. And the colors literally mean a frequency. And it's crazy because another thing, a cool like fun fact about the Indian people is that they were like one of the first people to launch like a rocket or like a projectile into like what they said was space, and like they had one of the first astronauts and stuff like that, or people that were just, you could say pilots, because I don't think if they went out of space they'd probably die, but you know what I mean. So like it's pretty cool that they're just that smart, like they're
already at that
smart,
time they're utilizing the same technology to an extent.
So like the colors they didn't have like a freaking thing that records like frequencies and all that crap, but the
Right.
colors from that whole thing are literally the colors of music and the frequencies of music at the same time, you know, because color they match at certain numbers.
So what color coincides with 440?
It's somewhere between orange and yellow. And orange is funny because it facilitates change, and you know, that's pretty much what Hitler wanted to do, was to change the minds of people. Yeah.
Drastic.
And so you're trying to change the mind of people. And if you think about it, so I'm gonna read what the orange color is, and I'll read again what the yellow color is because I read it a while ago. So the orange color is basically the effect on your brain is to facilitate change. It says this tone produces the energy to trigger changes. This frequency cleans up past traumatic experiences. This frequency acts as a cellular level, or acts at the cellular level by putting you in contact with the inexhaustible source of energy that allows you to transform your life. So that 417 is not too far from 440. So if looking at it from going from orange to yellow, I'll read the yellow before I say what I pretty much can conclude just by, you know, combining the colors and the frequencies going from one to the next. That 440 is like almost right in the middle. So if you go to yellow again, it's used to return the human DNA to its original state. And you know, it initiates the process of DNA regeneration. So somewhere between orange and yellow, 417 hertz and 528 hertz is 440. What I'm piecing together from it is that they're trying to change and regenerate the thought process of people, and by doing that, anything that had a traumatic experience, like for the Nazi sake, it was like World War One, trying to recover from that, going into the 20s and 30s. For America, it was coming out of the 20s into the 30s, the Great Depression.
Right.
So it's like something traumatic has to happen, which kind of makes me think, like, after this whole COVID thing, what are they gonna do with us now? That was kind of traumatic for most people. But that's another topic for another day. But basically, like, going back into the yellow and the mixing it with the orange, it's basically transforming your life. And the yellow one, or the orange one, is transforming your life, and the yellow one also says it activates your intuition to help you achieve goals. So like, it makes people, I guess, more goal driven, and it also kind of like boosts energy, but like, you got to think, like, not like your physical energy all the time, you know what I mean? So it's like,
could be like mental energy, emotional energy,
and it kind of like
that.
It kind of, basically what I'm getting from it is going to allows you to transform and regenerate DNA. So if I could transform and regenerate DNA, then basically I can control my population just through a frequency and a color, and I can push that onto a bunch of things.
Because you're regenerating the thought process.
Exactly.
At that point. So you're putting new ideas into someone's head.
And you're trying to transform the mind into thinking in that same regeneration process.
So you're almost like training them, subconsciously training the listener to
and it's
be
all
susceptible
subconscious
to whatever it is that you're making them listen to.
Yeah, so if I'm like, oh yeah, I want you to smoke more cigarettes because cigarettes are healthy, is like one of the campaigns when cigarettes were first created, just to push it, right? But that advertisement was pushed in the 440 hertz because this was like after the 440s already been established pretty much all over the world, in the major world,
right?
So like, basically, cigarettes were first seen as healthy. Now we know them as cancer sticks. So it's like they were pushing that because they were just trying to push a cash crop tobacco, blah blah blah, and get some domestic dollars back off it, whatever, and tax and sin tax and all that stuff, which they still are doing now. Right. But it's like, that's just one example of how, eventually we learn that, but people are still smoking today. Nobody, you know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. So like, another weird thing I seen was the blue color on here is also like, so the 528 hertz and the 741 hertz are the two ones that kind of help you heal and like go into, so the yellow is process of DNA regeneration. And the benefits are increased energy level, clarity of mind, awakened creativity, state of deep inner peace. The blue color is said to, pretty much help you turn your problems into solutions by any kind, by guiding you towards the right solution. It also helps promote self-expression, which is very similar to the yellow color, with it, helping the creativity and stuff like that, and lead to a more stable life, which is very similar to, a state of deep inner peace. And at the cellular level, regular use of that frequency of 741 leads to healthier and simpler life as it cleans the cell of toxins. But when these two frequencies are played at the same time, it's known as the devil's tritone frequency, which has been banned from like anyone ever using it because it could actually kill you.
Really?
Yeah.
The frequency can?
Yeah, that frequency when you play the 741 hertz frequency with the 528 frequency long enough, it can have like some strains on your body. So it basically it'll basically like shut the heart down and like stuff like that, cause irregular heartbeats, which is kind of what a scientist figured out by the name of Professor O.W. Schumann. He was at Munich University, and he was
Germany.
In Germany, exactly, in 1957, and he was discovering the Earth's transverse magnetic waves, and basically he figured out that most of the Earth's electromagnetic waves are spread through the radio wave, hence, the 440 hertz spreading throughout the world,
right?
And you just channel it with the radio. We have radios pretty much everywhere in our car, everything, in our homes, stuff like that.
Especially back then, that was like the main.
Yeah,
form
back
of
then there was no TV, there was no internet. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's just the radio. And you got to think back then, more people were more, I guess, patriotic towards their country.
100%.
It was it was like everything like you grew up to learn and know was, all propaganda stuff. Like, so basically, he figured out that devil frequency, or the devil's tritone is what they call it, is what when astronauts return from space missions, they all had serious health problems because when they flew outside of the ionosphere, which is like a certain level in our atmosphere, they lacked the vital frequency of 7.8 hertz. And then they said basically to solve the problem, he had to make an artificial frequency to help them heal from that being exposed to that
Would it be a lack of frequency then, or is it just the different frequency altogether that they're exposed to?
They lack the frequency.
So they had there's no frequency.
Well, it was they lacked it. So I don't think it was anything.
Because when you're in space, so the frequency you're talking about is the frequency that the world runs on.
Yeah.
But if they're in space, then there's no frequency.
Pretty much, yeah. Because they essentially what they're saying is that they left the Earth's atmosphere, and the ionosphere is like one of the last layers of the atmosphere. So they said basically they were lacking the 7.8 hertz, which I guess when you're that high up, that's where the tritone frequency kind of affects you the most.
Yeah.
So like you got to think what's really out there is yellow and blue light. You know what I mean? Like those are the main ones. Like there's a lot of UV blue lights from the sun, ultraviolet rays, and then like the sun is also a yellow burning bulb, like in outer space.
Right.
So, like,
exactly.
You got to think like both of those together, and you don't have like the atmosphere shielding you from all this stuff. You know what I mean? You don't have like, so they're like above.
Yeah, you're in a spaceship, and the only protection you have is
the spaceship. Right? So it's like. That's how they were exposed. So they had to reintroduce like those two ones separately back to people. And pretty much the 7.8 hertz emitted inside a person could immediately stabilize them, if they're emitted inside of them, which is which is crazy because it's like it says here that all mammals operate off of this. So that's like,
So they're basically, when they're in space or coming down from space, they're suffering from a lack of said frequency.
yeah,
And that makes sense because, like you said, humans, mammals in general, are water and electricity.
yeah,
And if they're somewhere where they're exposed to none of it, then you're kind of.
yeah. SOL.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, SOL.
So they made, like, what was it, like a manufactured frequency that they put in the spaceship, or is it like when they came back down, they introduced them to this immediately?
They introduced it to him immediately, but then they also integrated the technology into the spaceship.
Wow.
So yeah. Another thing too is what two things together, like brands wise, are like blue and yellow that you think of?
Best Buy, Walmart,
Yep.
IKEA.
yeah. Yeah, IKEA. Amazon is like blue and yellow too. So like if you think about it, like if you want to just like piece this together, like you gotta think about this, guys. Like Walmart, they're like a huge company. Like so them, Amazon, Best Buy, and IKEA. You buy your couches from IKEA, you buy your computers from Best Buy and your phones maybe from Walmart or Best Buy, right? And you also, use that computer to then again shop on Best Buy, on their website.
So it's just a chain
literally
reaction.
they're giving you the seat to be so comfortable in. They're giving you the computer with the, but those two colors are the devil's tritone. And those companies have a lot of things around them that are saying like they're like not for the better of humanity. Yeah. So like
there's actually conspiracies, small like side note, there's conspiracies around Walmart saying that there's FEMA camps being built in Walmarts.
Really?
Yeah, there's actually one fairly close to where we are right now, actually.
That's crazy.
That I checked out, and it's kind of freaky when you go see it.
Yeah, I mean, like they have all the resources. You gotta think Walmart has all the resources you need: guns, bullets, food, everything you need. Maybe besides a little bit of stuff that Home Depot would have, but like they have everything: gardening, everything, the full home experience you can get at Walmart. Like everything you could build a house at Walmart, except
full monopoly.
Like I said, they just don't have wood and stuff there. But they got guns and butter at Walmart. But yeah, so if you think about that too, those are the top three leaders in like Walmart, Best Buy, Amazon, top three leaders in our technology being sold to us. And the blue light UV ray is at a different frequency than the blue light I was talking about. But basically, they said it's safe to say that blue light and staring at screens can take away, it can break down cells and kill cells. Just being exposed to your skin, I'm not even being exposed to your skin, it can damage your skin cells, speed the process of aging. Even exposure for as short as 60 minutes can trigger these changes. So that's something crazy right there. And then it also messes up your eyes. It reduces the effect that your body has on creating its own melatonin to balance out the sleep. It causes macular degeneration and cataracts in your eyes. Leads to blurry vision, eye strain, and dry eye, which is crazy because it's like it ruins your eyes, right? Ruins your skin. The same thing with the green light. Which is it messes up your eyes. It helps your body. It pretty much like stay up longer, and it pretty much alters the melatonin production levels again. So like people are like woke now, more wearing green light and blue light protection glasses, which is like crazy because it's like if you look at these lights in the right frequency, right, they're supposed to help you heal, and like the green light The green light I didn't talk about yet, but basically at a cellular level, it's used to promote good communication with ourselves, with the environment. So like, um, helps us like improve our communication, understanding tolerance and love. But it's doing the exact opposite with the UV light, from the our electronics.
Yeah.
Where it's basically they're saying that kids that are growing up on their tablets are more antisocial. They have harder times communicating, talking. They rather like type
And
stuff
that's
out.
a fact.
Yeah. They're like, understanding tolerance and love. Like they don't understand love because they're talking to a machine all day, and it's literally just looking at the colors. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's crazy because our entire society now is basically it's based around phones, laptops, TVs. So we're subject to all of this all the time.
Oh yeah. So like and then the like I said, the blue color is the one that's supposed to help like clean things and help people lead a simpler life.
Yeah.
And like helps clean your cell of toxins. So both of these are kind of like supposed to help improve things, but they're not at the right frequency. When we're looking into our screen, it's not at the same frequency as 741 hertz. When we're looking into our screen, it's not the same frequency as 639 hertz. Which is crazy because it's like literally when you look into your phone, what you look at every single day, or when your kid is looking at their tablet, when you're at work looking at the work computer, is actually ruining your communication, ruining your understanding, and your tolerance of love. It actually is not. It does make your life so simple, but it's not helping you. It's not gonna help you heal. It's actually in the opposite. The blue light to the blue frequency is not in the same exact thing. Because the blue frequency helps you age and die quicker. So it's like another thing about the Rockefellers is like there was a meeting that he was speaking at a UN dinner, and he was speaking on population control, and it's like a speech on, you could look it up, like it's like a Rockefeller speaks at United Nations dinner.
And he's talking about population control.
Yeah, he's talking about the importance of population control, the importance of how there's not going to be enough resources come time for whatever, or we're going to have to pretty much manufacture resources synthetically. And this is in 1970. And literally 1 year later, what happens? The dollar loses the backing of gold, and it goes completely fiat. So it's like what he was saying wasn't falling on deaf ears. And then not only that, if you think about it like this, they always tell you like there's a lot of like in that from that era, the food pyramid was like pushed heavily. The food pyramid is now not even a thing anymore. It's the food plate, which is kind of similar, but it's like
similar idea
of like how to proportion your food. But even the food plate is kind of getting pushed back out of schools and stuff now, where it's like some teachers still use it just because like it's part of their curriculum they've been using and stuff like that. So like stuff like an orange is not a real thing. Like it's not, it's made from, there is one original orange, but it tastes completely different than what we're used to. It's still the color orange, but basically like we're told like an orange is like the primary source of vitamin C. It's not. Like there's elderberries, there's stuff like for instance, you couldn't even get a yellow bell pepper. A yellow bell pepper has way more vitamin C than an orange does. But this goes back to the population control. We're not giving them the right nutrients to their body. Now we can further suppress them with these frequencies and control them using propaganda or using whatever we need to push propaganda. Definitely the food pyramid is propaganda. That was pushed by the government.
100%, yeah.
Right. There's a lot of stuff being pushed by the government.
Just like I saw something that said that even like that got milk thing, that was just BS propaganda to push the whatever industry that is, the dairy industry, to push that because they were making so much. They had so much milk and all that,
Yeah.
they started creating the got milk
Yeah.
commercials to make drinking milk and eating cheese and stuff like that
Yeah.
more like mainstream.
And it's crazy because like milk, they would literally have the milkman deliver you milk back in the day. And
Yeah.
everybody, like all my older
Make it
relatives are
easier.
like, you don't have no milk with your meal. What's wrong with you? Like, I'm lactose intolerant. Funny thing is, milk is used to nurse baby cows into being bulls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so
Fork out, like
Yeah,
you don't.
the
No other
yeah.
animal but us drinks the milk of another animal.
right, and like humans don't even need milk past a certain age. Like breast milk, we don't need breast milk past a certain age, but we're told to keep continuing drinking milk.
Right.
And all this dairy stuff. So it's like if you think about it like that, which kind of leads me to bring up like this whole thing with like Dr. Sebi's kind of like a recent current event. Like when he died, Nipsey Hussle was like trying to bring his research to light. And like basically it's just about eating clean and eating a better diet and stuff like that, and like not eating milk or like all these man-made lab-made vegetables and fruits that are like actually
that have like steroids and growth hormone to make them bigger.
And like all these like GMO stuff to like kind of go against nature and like to stop this bug and that bug and this pesticide and that pesticide from killing the plant, or so it's like stuff like that. And Nipsey ended up dying, and a lot of people think it was because he was trying to shed light on that. And the whole thing with the Dr. Sebi research and all that stuff is that he was actually proven right in court for like healing people. But it's like the whole thing, his main thing is like you should start your day with water, alkaline water. And alkaline is like electric water. So your body's electric and it's water. So if you're getting electric water, you're gonna obviously
it's better for you.
Your body's just going to kick into its natural state, which is what pretty much the whole thing is with these colors. It's like you're getting into your natural state. And what is the color of water? Essentially, like, not obviously it's transparent, but it's like the typical color of water is blue. You look in the ocean.
When you think of water, you think blue.
When you look in the ocean, it's blue. So you look in like a lake or something like that, it's blue water. Yeah. And what is water in the frequency of 741 hertz, or the color blue in the frequency of 71 hertz do? At the cellular level, it leads to healthier and simpler life as it cleans the cell of toxins. And that's literally alkaline foods and water. That's literally what Dr. Sebi was pushing. So it's like, if you think about it, if you go back to what I said earlier, they're giving us a poor diet. They're pushing like Grubhub and like DoorDash and all this other stuff, which all these apps, ironically, except for like Uber Eats, I think even Postmates is red too, but they're all red. And red is the most basic frequency ever. Like, it's the most simplistic one. And it's supposed to turn pain into joy, apparently. And, cleanses the sense of guilt. And that's pretty much what shitty food does. It makes you feel good.
Yeah,
and people use food to cope and like all that stuff. And it also frees you from guilt and fear by lowering the defense mechanisms. So it naturally, Grubhub, DoorDash, all the stuff that's bringing you fast food,
it makes you more vulnerable.
Makes you more vulnerable to everything. And it's kind of like turning you away from wanting to heal and all that stuff, because it's lowering your defense mechanisms. And then it also said it promotes the release of unconscious blockages, negative beliefs and ideas that have led you to your current situation. So it's like, if I'm just piling down food that I'm getting from this red colored app, I'm not going to think negatively. You know what I mean?
No,
and,
too busy
and the
eating
food
this
already,
GMO-full food.
Yeah, and the food already is being scientifically modified to ruin my body. To the recipes for the food is not healthy or anything like that. Like I said, to cope, and like a lot of people are fat as hell because they are just cope eaters, and you know what I mean. So like it kind of will like release negative beliefs because you're coping. Release negative ideas because you're coping because you're eating so much. And it's like, dude, literally, is driving like more people to put more toxin in their body, so they can be their body's already defense mechanisms are already down to now to the point where like your body's like they said back in the I think Harvard released a study where it's like back in the 90s and 80s. This is when people were eating more at home, guys. So like people were eating more at home, more home cooked meals. You come home to eat, you go, eat dinner with your family for the most part. There's cooked dinner there.
Yeah.
So this is like around that time, and they said the body was more of 86% water. Nowadays, it's around 70 to 75% water. So we lost a good like 10 to 15% of water.
Just retaining water, diet alone.
Based off of that alone, most people want to drink milk first, or like soda, or like Gatorade or juice and all this stuff. And it's like crazy because like how many false colors and like preservatives and this and that is in like Gatorade or McDonald's French fries or whatever. Like, come on, we all seen super size.
Crazy
like,
amount.
The McDonald's French fries didn't mold for like 3 months while they were in the jar.
Like, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like it's crazy. So it's like that stuff is not going anywhere in your body. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it just stays there until you detox and like eat correctly and stuff like that. And like, so if you think about it, that's already one thing is your diet that they're like crazy. And then what is MK Ultra? They use in the advertisements for what? For big multi-million trillion dollar Fortune 500 companies like McDonald's and stuff like that. So it's like, and McDonald's is actually red. And so, yeah,
and yellow.
Think about it. And it's yellow, yeah, too. So like they're like deceiving you with, the yellow and like kind of drawing you in with the red. But yellow is like the first thing you see. And basically you think like, oh, energy, like, oh, this is cool, like inner peace. When you look at yellow, like that's just the characteristics of yellow at the 528 hertz. And then you mix that with red, and it's like, basically it releases joy, and it transforms joy from pain to joy. You know what I mean? It releases guilt and fear. So like you're not feeling guilty when you drive up to McDonald's or Wendy's. You know what I mean? You're not feeling guilty.
Great.
Yeah, you're not feeling guilty when you're ordering from Grubhub or DoorDash or anything like that. You know what I mean? So like releases guilt and basically helps you feel more energetic and calm and clear. And the smell of the fries smells good as hell. Yeah, I mean,
that's a fact. When you smell McDonald's fries in the car,
it's the whole car smells like that. So it's like, stuff like that, they already got your diet messed up, which directly affects your brain, and the way your body processes nutrients. Then they have the sound waves. So they got the colors advertising the poor diet, the sound waves advertising the poor diet, and what they want you to do and how they want you to operate and this and that. And then they got the school books and the propaganda and all that stuff. So it's like, if you think about it, it like all coincides to like basically the government mind controlling you subconsciously without you even knowing.
Yeah.
They're using just psychology to basically just alter your mind and your thought process and everything. And that's why there's like a whole conspiracy on our generation being the indigo children. And basically we're going to be the ones to be woken like spiritually, or like be maybe not spiritually 100%, but like be woke more, I guess, open-minded. Now in the chakra chart, the color indigo literally is the third eye, which figuratively means like you're woke to everything. And that's why we have like the whole woke hashtag, and like, you got Donald Glover, stay woke, blah, blah, blah. So like, basically the indigo color means to awaken the intuition and return to the spiritual order, or return to the natural state. Spiritual is the most internal state of your body. So like, of the existing person. So like you're returning to the original state, how people were intended to operate, and you're going to awaken in the intuition. And then it says on the cellular process, it can help transform your cells to a higher level. Now, when I go back to the orange and yellow, it just is to regenerate, taking out those two parts to regenerate and transform into whatever you need it to. But when the indigo color and the indigo generation is supposed to come out, it says basically it raises awareness, allows you to develop a more spiritual insight, And like I said, on a cellular level, it helps to transform your cells into a higher level, meaning a higher process of thinking, a more aware of your surroundings, like frequencies and poor diets, and just not going against the grain, I should say, going against the grain of what our parents were taught through this brainwashing propaganda crap. So It's like we're literally the generation that the world government fears, which is why I think they're trying so hard, like throwing COVID at us, throwing more mechanisms of population control, making it easier for us to use a cell phone. Like, how hard are they pushing cell phones and like technology now? A new computer comes out this year, it's better than last year's model. They only changed like 4 or 5 things.
Yeah,
and it's like
anything.
They're just dropping phone after phone, number after number after number, year after year. You would have to wait like 2 years for the iPhone to come out. Now it's like every single year
they drop like 4.
Yeah, they drop like 4 per year, and it's like the biggest hype. Your computer, there's a new Intel processor every year. They're trying to get more people to stream, because the more you stream, the more accessible it is for you to stream and use this technology and that technology. The more they can manipulate what you're looking at, manipulate what you're hearing. The more music they push, all these brand new artists, all these new songs, all these, they'll kill an artist because, their music is too whatever, or their music is so good in the 440 hertz that they can then, everybody's, whatever that post estimates, whatever it is, anybody's like, album after they die skyrockets. You know what I mean? Like completely skyrockets. Even if they weren't like Nipsey Hussle was really an underground rapper. He was just famous as hell because he's been doing it for a while, and he's in LA, and like he's good. And then like soon as he died, he became pop culture for like the whole. He still is now. Like people still bump him more, and I never heard people bump him before.
That whole summer, I remember I didn't listen to Nipsey at all, and when he died, I was part of it. I listened to Nipsey every album.
Yeah.
After he died.
Yeah. It's just like something
before.
you do, because it's like, damn, what was I really missing out on? This guy was a good artist. And like it just triggers you to do that. And then it's like people will tap into this artist being dead, this artist being dead, this artist being dead. And then like really some of the artists were woke already. You know what I mean? Like Chris Brown named his album Indigo after the idea of the Indigo generation, Indigo child. He released it in a 528 hertz frequency. To basically awaken creativity and clear your mind. So then that way, now we can, he was basically trying to help wake us up so we can tap into like this indigo frequency at 852 that'll help us pretty much transform into a higher level of ourselves and kind of like wake up from all the bullshit around us, which is pretty dope. Most people are like controversial about Chris Brown, like how they feel, but like, hey, the man's throwing us a bone, man. Like,
I mean, that he's still a great artist.
Of course, yeah, of course.
But that's bananas, man.
Yeah, that is bananas. But yeah, that is bananas. Looks like we hit our mark. So you've been checked in officially at the Checked In Podcast. You know what I'm saying? Follow us on Instagram at the Checked In Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at the Checked In Cast. Look for us on Instagram. I'm sorry, not Instagram. Look for us on Spotify, iTunes. All that stuff is coming soon. YouTube at Checked In. And yeah, thanks for watching.